Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our third webinar to support the HEAL Initiative Native Collective Research Effort to Enhance Wellness Program, addressing overdose, substance use, mental health, and pain. The purpose of our session today is to provide some time to address your questions and answers, but we'll begin with just a very brief slide set. So first, we acknowledge that the NIH exists on the traditional lands of the Piscataway and Anacostan people, past, present, and future. We honor the land itself and the Native people who belong to this land. And in an action statement, we commit to our responsibility to take action through listening, learning, and responding to center Native American voices and communities in our work. So there are several NCREW program staff, as well as review and analytics staff who are here to answer any questions you have about the program, the research opportunity announcements, and the application and review process. So I want to take a moment and introduce myself and have the team introduce themselves. So I am Kathy Etz. I'm serving as the director of the NCREW program and also the director of Native American programs at the National Institute on Drug Abuse. And now I'm going to ask Barbara Odekirk to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Barbara Odekirk, and I am one of the scientific program directors for NCREW. Thank you for joining us. Now I'll pass it to Jacqueline.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Jacqueline Smith at NIDA, also a scientific program director for NCREW.
Okay, and then I'll ask Angela Walden to put her camera on and introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Angela Walden, member of the NCREW team. Nice to see you all. Well, nice to be here.
And Carly?
Hi, everybody. My name is Carly Marshall. I'm an analyst for NCREW. Happy to be here.
Thanks, Carly. Nakia Brown?
So good morning, everyone. I am a scientific review officer for NCATS.
Thanks, Nakia. And Jennifer Cho.
Good afternoon. I'm Jennifer Cho, the Deputy Chief for the Grants Management Branch at the NIH National Center for Advancing Translational Sciences, and I'm serving as an Other Transaction Agreements Officer for the NCREW program. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. So just before we dive in, I'm going to cover some webinar housekeeping items. Please be aware that this webinar is being recorded. The recording of this webinar will be published on the NCREW website. Throughout the webinar today, participants' mics will be muted. Please submit all questions through the Q&A box located on your screen. For most participants, it should be located on the bottom of the screen. And if you have questions, go ahead and send them in now so we can start working on answers. If you have any technical difficulties during this webinar, please write a message in the Q&A box or email Caitlin at the email provided on the slide here, and someone will assist you. And I'll just pause for a second so that people can write down that email address. Okay, so the purpose of today's webinar is, as I already said, to answer questions about the two research opportunity announcements, OTA-23-007 and ROA-23-008, both linked on this slide and also can be found on the NCREW website. The NCREW website also has a link to a questions and answers page, which is updated regularly. There are more than 80 questions posted as of today, making it a great resource for up-to-date information. NIH staff have also facilitated 2 webinars, and you can find the recordings and the PowerPoint slides available online, also via that NCREW website. The first webinar provided a detailed overview of the NCREW program and the associated research opportunity announcements, and a high-level overview of the application submission and review processes. The second webinar provided a more detailed review of the application submission process, including a live demonstration of how to register your organization in ERA Commons and how to submit an application in ERA Assist. A reminder about some of the deadlines of the programs. All applicant organizations must be registered in ERA Commons before submitting an application in ERA Assist. This process can take 2 or more weeks. So if you're thinking about or planning to apply to either ROA, please make sure your organization is registered as soon as possible. The last day to submit questions on the NCREW program, but that excludes any technical application submission questions. The last day to submit questions to the Q&A is October 17th. And then the full application is due via Assist on November 1st. Review is anticipated to begin in January of 2024 and will continue into February. Following negotiations with recipients, the first awards are expected to be issued with the earliest possible start date of June 1, 2024. If you have any questions about the NCREW program or research opportunities and have not already added your questions to the Q&A box, please start to do so now. Before we turn to those questions, I wanted to share with you some common questions about submitting applications. The ERA Service Desk is an excellent resource if you have trouble submitting an application. It is best to submit a ticket online if you are having trouble, but if it is within 2 days of the application deadline, please call them. Email NCREW at ncrew@nih.gov if you are not able to get assistance through the service desk. Even if you don't apply to NCREW at this time, we would still love to hear from you and hear about the work that you are doing as it's related to the goals of this program. Please send us an email to share your interest in research and what your community is doing to address overdose, substance use, mental health, and pain. And as a reminder, applications are due on November 1 by 5 p.m. local time. Please submit even if your application is incomplete. And if you miss the deadline, email us right away to let us know the issue. I do want to point out, though, that incomplete applications may not be reviewed, but we will be aware of your interest. So the one primary thing we want to communicate here is please email us and let us know you're out there and let us know any questions that you might have. So we'll use the rest of our scheduled time today to respond to questions about the NCREW program and associated research opportunity announcements. We extend our sincerest thanks to people who have already submitted questions, either at registration or here in real time. If you have a question and you haven't already asked it using the Q&A box, please add it now. The rest of our time today, we will address as many questions as we can. As mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, the recording of this webinar, any supplemental materials and a Q&A will be posted on our website soon. And as I indicated before, the Q&A will be updated regularly. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Angela and Carly to begin with our first question.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kathy. So I'll kick us off with our first question, which is ROA-23-007 says one milestone will need to be, in quotes, one milestone will be to, in quote, register study with the HEAL platform within 1 year of award, unquote. What does this entail, and should research infrastructure be registered?
So I will be answering our questions today. Of course, recognizing that the whole team has worked very hard on coordinating these responses. So to answer that question, registration will occur on the NIH HEAL Initiatives website. I'm going to say that website, but just know again that this will be up on the Q&A on the website at some point in the near future. So registration will occur on NIH HEAL Initiatives website. That is HEAL, GitHub.io/platform-documentation. This website provides more information about how to register your study and what type of information will be collected about your study. Registration involves submitting metadata, for example, information about the type of study or study design, type of subjects such as human participants or animals, variable information, etc. That will allow your study to be findable within the HEAL platform. Program staff and the HEAL data ecosystem developers are flexible and can work one-on-one with investigators to make sure their study and the expected data or outcomes are represented accurately in the platform. Okay, so please note that the registration of your study does not mean submission of the actual data. Registering your study increases transparency for collaborators and others in the research community to reach the principal investigators directly if they know a data set exists. And registration can be performed by the principal investigator or another member of the research team.
Thank you, Angela, for kicking us off with that first question. I got another one for you, which is, where can I learn more about the program overall?
The best source of information to learn about the NCREW program is the NCREW website. And that website can be found at HEAL, that's HEAL.nih.gov/NCREW. The website provides information about the program and provides links to the research opportunity announcements, key application dates, recordings for previously held webinars, and a Q&A page that is updated regularly and other resources. So definitely check out the website to learn about the program.
And it's right on the slide too, if that helps at all.
Yep, that's true.
Yep. Great. Another question for you is, can we have multiple PIs from different organizations on this project?
Yes, applicants may include multiple PIs. Please note that if applicants utilize a multiple PI model, it will be expected that the applicant also provides a multiple PI leadership plan that focuses on how decisions will be made and potential conflicts resolved.
Thank you. So this question is regarding ROA-007, and it is, how flexible can funding be in terms of A, the overall cap, and B, the distribution of funding between the 2 years of the award?
NIH anticipates annual total budgets will range from $200,000 to $550,000, depending on the proposed activities and resources, but there is no annual budget limit. The anticipated budget range is meant to be a gauge for the level of funding that NIH may provide for ROA-23-007. The final award will be based on pre-award negotiations, and the final dollar amount may be more or less than the range provided. Applicants should provide a reasonable budget request based on the activity described in the application. So please make sure to read pages 15 and 16 in the ROA, as there's additional information about what activities should be budgeted for. Generally, payments align with the achievement of milestones, and a payment schedule will be negotiated prior to the issuance of the award. But NIH and/or applicants may negotiate non-milestone-based payment structures for part or all of the award period. There is no requirement for how funds are distributed between the 2 years of the award. Also, on August 30th, NIH held an NCREW webinar to discuss the application and submission process. In that webinar, we provided information about the budget and a budget example. The recording and PowerPoint slides for that webinar are posted on the NCREW website.
Thank you, Angela. Switching gears a little bit, this one is regarding 008. So the question is, what partnerships are needed to be a successful OTA 23-008 ally organization?
Applicants can apply to ROA OTA 23-008 as a single applicant or apply in partnership with other organizations. The ROAs do not pre-specify what partnerships are needed, but do emphasize the importance of partnerships. Partnerships are expected to be a critical component to support success of this program. We expect that partnerships will be developed among awardees and have required teaming meetings to support partnership development. All applicant organizations selected to participate in the Native Research Resource Network must be able to document strong Native American cultural expertise. It's up to each applicant to provide documentation sufficient to support their expertise. For example, ally organizations can demonstrate expertise by showcasing the successful experience of individuals within the organization working with Native communities. And I'm going to review some additional information from the ROAs that might be helpful. So ROA 008 explains that given the significant diversity across TNASOs, that's Tribal and Native American Serving Organizations, existing research capacity and expansion goals, no single organization is likely to meet the needs of all TNASOs funded through NCREW. Partnership structures are expected to require flexibility throughout phase 1 as new needs emerge and the levels and types of resources needed change. NIH is using this flexible, agile funding mechanism, other transactions, to establish a native research resource network, which will allow for flexibility in modifying activities, partners, or formal partnership structures over approximately the first 2 years of the NCRU program. The ROA also states that budget estimates should consider, quote, funding for promptly hiring new consultants, partnering with new entities, or bringing on new team members based on emerging needs. Attendees should also be aware that as part of the objective review process specified in ROA-23-008, there are 3 criteria by which applications will be judged. And a full description of all those criteria can be found in the ROA document. But we want to note that for the first criteria, which is called likelihood of meeting NCRU program needs, reviewers will be asked to consider the following as part of their rating. How likely is it that the proposed key personnel, staffing structure, partnerships, and/or plans to hire additional personnel and form new partnerships will contribute to the success of the proposed activities?
Thank you, Angela, and thank you everybody for your great questions. Keep adding them to the box. Another one for you. This one is regarding more just general application. So can you share some guidance on the resume format?
Sure. There are no specific instructions for resume formatting. You may consider a condensed version of the NIH BioSketch or any other format of your choosing. Your resume will be sufficient as long as it includes the relevant information to support your application and is within the 3-page limit as specified in the ROAs. As a reminder, project staff resumes should be uploaded into the planned activities, approach, and key personnel section of your application. The resumes do not count against the 12-page limit for this section. Also note that the full application, including resumes, should be combined and uploaded as one PDF file. You can read more about this in the ROAs, and I think we have another question on that part as well.
Perfect, thank you. Another application question for you, which is, can you provide an example of how to name the application file?
The file naming convention consists of 3 parts. So if you are applying for ROA-23-007, the first part of the file name should be literally TNASO. If applying for ROA-OTA-23-008, the first part of the file name should be NRRN. Then for both ROAs, use _ PI last name followed by _ applicant organization. So let me give you an example. I think that'll help here. Let's pretend for a moment that I am Angela Walden of Walden Enterprises, which is, of course, a name I've just made up to represent my organization that's applying for NCRU in this example. So here's how I would name my application file. So if I, as Walden Enterprises, are applying to, I'm the PI from Walden Enterprises applying to 007, my file name would be TNASO _ Walden _ Walden Enterprises. If I was applying to 008, it would be NRRN _ Walden _ Walden Enterprises. So hopefully that helps folks.
Thank you. Walden Enterprises sounds pretty promising. I like it. The next question is, the work we are doing in our community aligns with the goals of the NCRU program, but we are not sure about pursuing these current research opportunities. How can we share the work we are doing?
Currently, there are 2 active research opportunity announcements, OTA-23-007 and OTA-23-008. Even if you are not sure about applying for either of these 2 active research opportunity announcements, please do email us. Our email is on the screen. It is ncrew@nih.gov, and let us know about your work. So NIH is interested in learning about the different ways communities are addressing overdose, substance use, pain, and related factors.
Great. The next question is, do the applicants have to be a residential facility to be eligible to apply?
Applicants do not need to be a residential facility to apply.
Perfectly answered. The next one is, my organization wants to apply, but is not registered in ERA Commons yet. Is it too late?
Absolutely not. It's not too late. Please register your organization in ERA Commons as soon as possible. It can take 2 or more weeks to complete registration, which must be completed before you can submit your application and assist.
Perfect. Following up on that, another question is there another way other than assist to submit my application?
No, there is not. Applicants must submit applications via the NIH ERA Assist system.
Thank you, Angela. We're on a roll with these application questions, so I'll keep going. The next one is, when may I submit my application?
Once the applicant organization is registered in ERA Commons, applications can be submitted at any time. All applications must be received by November 1st, 2023 by 5 p.m. and that's based on the local time of the applicant organization. We highly encourage all applicants to start the process of submitting early to allow time for any system issues to be resolved prior to the deadline.
Perfect. Another question for you is, if I receive an award, do I need to submit progress reports?
Yes. The frequency and types of technical and financial reports, such as federal financial reports required, will be specified in the agreement document and will include, at minimum, financial status reports that will establish the burn rate for the project and a biannual progress report.
Thank you. So this is a general question regarding data for both 007 and 008. And the question is, what are the data sharing requirements for 007 and 008?
So phase 1 projects will be subject to the NIH data management and sharing policy, which requires that recipients submit a plan to manage and share data. Justified exceptions to sharing data are allowed as noted in the policy. Applications should include a data management and sharing plan outlining initial plans for how scientific data and any accompanying metadata will be managed and shared, taking into account any potential restrictions or limitations, including those related to tribal policies or preferences. So it might be helpful to review the supplemental information to the NIH policy for data management and sharing. That's called supplemental information to the NIH policy for data management and sharing, responsible management and sharing of American Indian Alaska Native participant data.
Thank you. So another question is, if I need help with ERA or assist, what do I do?
If you are having technical difficulties, email or call the ERA Commons Service Desk. The email address, phone number, and hours of operation can be found on the NCREW Q&A website. In your correspondence, please be sure to clearly identify that you are an other transaction authority applicant for OTA-23-007 or OTA-23-008, depending on which research opportunity announcement you are applying to. If you would like assistance more generally about how to use the system, we strongly encourage you to watch the recording of the webinar NIH hosted on August 30th, as it includes a demonstration on how to submit your application. The recording and the PowerPoint slides are available on the NCREW website. Also on the website is a link to a PDF document that provides step-by-step instructions on how to use ERA Commons and Assist. If you need immediate help, that is like if you're within 2 days of the deadline, please call the service desk. If you are unable to get help from the service desk, please email us at ncrew@nih.gov. And again, that email is on the slide.
Thank you. That was sort of a long answer, so I'll pause and just remind folks to keep adding your questions into the box. We'll try to get to them today. So thank you for sharing those with us. Our next question is, can you provide guidance on indirect costs?
Yes, applicants should apply the correct F&A rate consistent with their current negotiated indirect cost rate agreement in the total costs and the total award amount. If the applicant does not have an approved facilities and administrative cost rate agreement, they may propose a rate for NIH review and consideration.
Perfect. We have another question here regarding ROA-007, And the question is the award for ROA-007 open to applications that identify a list of potential interventions to research in the proposal with the idea that the actual intervention may be selected after the completion of a preliminary research/planning phase?
Yes, this would be an acceptable approach.
Great. Another question that we got is, can fiscal sponsors and fiscal agents serve in the signing official role in ERA Commons for a community organization?
Yes, the fiscal sponsor or fiscal agent can serve as the signing official in ERA Commons for the community organization if they can obtain a tribal resolution, executive order, or letter of commitment from the tribal authorized representative before the time of award.
Thank you, Angela. One more question is, do the resources created by the Native Research Resource Network, or what we often call NRRN, need to be tribe specific?
No, resources created by the NRRN do not need to be tribe specific. NIH will prioritize resources with the broadest utility, including resources generalizable to multiple tribes or resources developed or designed or designated for one tribe but adapted for others. NIH expects all tribe-specific resources to be developed in partnership with that tribe.
Perfect. So this next question is regarding review. And the question is, when will my application be reviewed and by whom?
We anticipate the review of responsive applications will begin in January 2024. Applications will be reviewed by subject matter experts using a process referred to as objective review. The subject matter experts will include NIH and other federal staff and external expertise as needed. The objective review process will use review criteria to guide the subject matter reviewers on the assessment of applications. More information about the review criteria for OTA-23-007 and OTA-23-008 are discussed on the questions and answers page on the NCREW website.
Perfect. And thank you all for these excellent questions. Another one is, how will awards be selected for funding?
So based on objective review and programmatic priorities, NIH will select a subset of applicants and/or subsections of applications to negotiate award terms. Funding decisions will be based on the outcome of the objective review, programmatic priority, and negotiations between the selected recipients and NIH. Agreements for all awards will be negotiated via video conference, site visit, and/or teleconferences. Final funding decisions will be based on the objective review and negotiations between selected recipients and NIH. If a limited number of responsive applications are received and/or there are significant gaps in the research areas proposed, NIH may determine a need to invite additional organizations to submit an application for consideration after the posted due date. Invited applications will undergo an internal review process based on the criteria already specified in the objective review.
Thank you. Another question is, will applicants receive written feedback on their applications for ROA's OTA-23-007 and OTA-23-008?
No, applicants will not receive written feedback on their application. However, if resources allow, NIH may be able to provide feedback in a post-review discussion call if requested by the applicant.
Perfect. This next question is regarding other transactions. And the question is, how do the terms and conditions of an OTA mechanism differ from a typical research grant?
So unlike a typical research grant, the NIH grants policy statement does not apply. Therefore, terms and conditions for other transactions awards are based on the program needs, which may vary.
Thank you. Another review question, which is, can I appeal the outcome of the objective review?
No, appeals of the objective review will not be accepted for applications submitted in response to these funding opportunities.
Thank you. Another question, which is, will the NRRN be responsible for collecting or managing common data elements or any other data?
It is possible that NRRN members will collect and or manage data, but this will be developed in real time as the program is built out. TNASO sites will advise on what is allowable and activities will be developed within the acceptable parameters. NRRN example activities included around data collection and management include, for example, coordinating and gathering information across TNASOs and sites, possibly generating summary data, initiating data collection activities at the request of TNASOs or NIH, providing data management and sharing support to TNASOs, coordinating any NIH or HEAL reporting requests, and working with HEAL data ecosystem where appropriate and with permission from TNASO sites, supporting dissemination of information learned throughout the program, managing the coordination of comprehensive real-time resources, and developing and or selecting and maintaining collaborative infrastructure and technology to share materials, communicate updates, or other information.
Thank you, Angela. And I'll just remind folks, we're cruising through these, so please add your questions to the box and hopefully we can get to it today. So we really appreciate you participating. Another question is, what are examples of Native American serving organizations, or what we often call NASOs?
So for the purposes of OTA-23-007 and OTA-23-008, tribes and Native American serving organizations are defined as federally or state recognized tribes and organizations with a core mission to serve and or track record in serving Native Americans and that are poised to reach this population. In OTA-23-007, examples of Native American serving organizations are provided, including, for example, community organizations, local businesses, neighborhood authority or associations, patient or consumer advocacy groups, regional or local and public healthcare systems, schools, law enforcement or criminal or juvenile justice agencies, or social service agencies. Native American serving organizations must provide justification that demonstrates a core mission to serve Native Americans and that they are poised to lead Native American community prioritized research. For example, this may be by submitting a copy of their organization's mission statement, articulating their core mission to serve Native Americans, information about its track record of partnering with Native American communities and individuals, and or through means that they deem appropriate of demonstrating their historical commitment to serving Native Americans.
Thank you, Angela. We have another question here, which is, can the 007 represent multiple tribes?
Yes, multiple tribes may be included in ROA OTA-23-007. For 008, multiple tribes may be included. However, please refer to the ROA for more specific information regarding program eligibility and goals.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And wonderful questions, everybody. We really appreciate it. Another one, which is, can you please talk more about the review process, given no written feedback will be given?
Sure. So as previously mentioned, applications will be reviewed through an objective review process by individuals with experience in working with Native American communities. For more information regarding the review process, it would be helpful for folks to refer to the NCREW website Q&A. Also, you can look at the ROA documents themselves, where some aspects of objective review, including the criteria by which reviewers will be reviewing applications, is found.
Perfect. We're going to pause for a second and just see if folks have more questions they want to add into the box, and then we can address those. But I know we've been talking a lot, so sometimes it's difficult to type and listen. So if you have anything you want to add, please put that in the questions and answers box, and we'll hopefully get to it today. we'll give it another minute or so. What do you think, Angela?
Yes, we'll do a little bit of transparent facilitation here, and recognizing that we have our whole team behind us answering questions. So just ask Kathy, who's popped into the screen.
Yes, we have just a few questions that we're working to answer in the background. So we'll give it a little bit more time while we get those answers fully ready. And in the meantime, please do submit additional questions. I will note that my technical inexpertise caused me to move one question to answered. I was attempting to post the link to the supplemental information to the NIH policy for data management and sharing, responsible management and sharing of American Indian Alaska Native participant data. I can give you the notice number for that if Googling is easier. It is NOT-OD-22-214. And I did put that in the answered questions in a link. So if the person who posted that question can't find it, please go ahead and post another question, and we'll make sure we get that to you.
And I think we might have, to that point, Kathy, it looks like we do have some of that supplemental language. I'm seeing it in front of me. We already answered the question, what are data sharing requirements for 007 and 008? But I see that there's some information that comes directly from the supplemental information. So I don't know if you're seeing that, but I'm happy to share that out. I can read that out for folks if that's of interest.
Sure. I think also you can find that policy in the chat. And Angela, yes, why don't you read some of that?
Yeah, sure. So here's a little bit of language from that supplemental information. Consider additional protections and appropriate limitations to future data sharing. So American Indian Alaska Native tribes have legal rights to determine the conditions by which their data are shared when data are collected within their jurisdiction, including requiring tribal approvals or participating in research review requests. Researchers and American Indian Alaska Native partners are encouraged to jointly consider data sharing expectations and any appropriate limitations on data sharing for secondary research. The data management and sharing policy recognizes that other factors, such as ethical, legal, and technical, may shape permissibility of data sharing, and these factors should be described in the plans. Examples of factors to be considered include applicable tribal laws, regulations, policies, and agreements governing participant research and resulting data, and distinct culturally embedded or spiritual values that inform tribal preferences regarding the extent to which data are shared. Tribal laws, regulations, policies, and preferences, for example, may apply to de-identified data not protected under U.S. federal regulations. Data sharing may also be limited in instances in which American Indian Alaska Native tribes wish to manage and share their own data and no appropriate repository exists or is accessible. And then there's a little bit of additional guidance that I can share. Quote, to mitigate the potential for group harm to American Indian Alaska Native tribes, both individual and community data protections, such as de-identification of tribal affiliation or other group identifiers and controlled access review, should be considered. In explaining participant protections and plans, researchers partnering with American Indian Alaska Native tribes are recommended to include in plans considerations of tribal sovereignty by describing their compliance with expectations from any relevant tribal law, regulation, policy, and/or preferences. Tribal IRBs and/or other relevant American Indian Alaska Native research oversight entities may specify for researchers the data sharing preferences of relevant American Indian Alaska Natives.
Thank you, Angela, for sharing that. It looks like we do have a couple questions that are ready if we want to switch gears to that.
Great, let's do it.
Great. Okay, so the next question is a resume different than a bio sketch? So should a bio sketch be only 3 pages now?
So a resume and a biosketch are the same for the purposes of this program. If choosing to use a biosketch, please condense the biosketch to information applicable to the program.
Perfect, thank you. Another application question, which is, as a follow-up to the questions about the application format, do resumes need to have 1-inch margins? Do tables have to use 11-point font, or can we use 9-point font for tables and figures as it is allowed in other NIH applications?
So standard application size limitations are not mandated for this program. However, it will be important that all information is presented in a manner that is in a readable format.
Perfect, thank you. And I think we have one more coming in. Give it a second. So the question is, could you, Angela, please discuss how 007 and 008 might work together?
Yes, so all award recipients will be expected to collaborate as part of the larger program. Determination regarding direct partnerships and collaborations will be determined once funding decisions are made and projects are selected.
Thank you. We'll put out one more call too for folks to add their questions in. We really appreciate everybody today. And just as a reminder too, if you think of a question in an hour or maybe after lunch, I'm on Pacific time, so it's almost lunch, please email the ncrew@nih.gov and we'll be happy to answer that for you as well.
I do see that someone has asked if I can repeat the format of the title again. I'm happy to go back and do that one. That one was a tongue twister, huh? Okay, so I will answer that question again because I know I went a little quickly. So, okay, remember the file naming convention consists of 3 parts. So if you're applying for OTA 23-007, the first part of the file name should literally be the letters TNASO. If you're applying for ROA OTA 23-008, the first part of the file name should literally be NRRN. And then for both ROAs, once you have that first either TNASO or NRRN, you're going to underscore PI last name followed by underscore applicant organization. So if I went back to my example, like let's pretend I'm Angela Walden of Walden Enterprises, my made up organization for this example. Here's how my application files would be named for OTA 23-007. It would be TNASO underscore Walden, because I'm the PI, underscore my organization name, Walden Enterprises. If it's for 008, it would be NRRN underscore Walden underscore Walden Enterprises. So hopefully that's helpful. And again, we won't put this example on our website, I don't think, but we'll put the explanation for the file naming convention that will live on our Q&A page.
Perfect, thank you. And we have another question that just came in, which is it's regarding 008. So for OTA 23-008, can you elaborate on how the development and continual refinement of a coordination and reporting structure might work?
Sure. So the development and refinement will be determined on applications selected and lessons learned. The use of the other transactions mechanism allows for flexibility, which enables the program to be agile.
We'll pause for any final questions, just for another moment.
Carly, we still have a few that are in the works.
Sounds great.
Okay, and while we're waiting on those, just as a reminder, emails at the bottom here. If there's something that you think of, website's the best place for information. And of course, these Q&As that we are reviewing in real time here today will be up on the website on our Q&A page.
And the recordings from the other 2 webinars as well.
That's right.
Yeah, I know we've said all this a million times, but it is helpful.
Okay, and I see we have another one coming in hot here.
Yep. Okay, I think mine's still loading. Here we go. So the question is, if a project for either ROA includes multiple tribes delivered under the auspices of a tribal consortium, do we need a resolution from each tribal nation, or will a resolution from the consortium board suffice?
That is a great question. And a resolution from each tribe will be required in that instance.
Perfect, thank you. And we have another one here in a minute. Thank you to our team for working on these. All right, you ready, Angela? The question is, what will expected collaborations across T and ASOs look like? So for example, in-person meetings, virtual meetings, and then they had a question about the frequency of those kind of collaborations.
Well, the short answer is all of the above, in-person meetings, virtual meetings. Frequency will depend on applications selected and program needs.
Perfect.
Okay. A few more minutes. So if you've got any more questions that you're thinking of, please post them.
I'll just apologize for the delay. We're working in a virtual environment across many sites. And I see the question about putting an example of what the file that's submitted needs to be called into the chat, and working on getting that in there. So you will find that there in a minute.
And we'll get all these new Q&As too posted to our website soon. So if you asked a question and wanted the answer in writing, stay tuned on our website so you can see examples there as well.
We were putting it live.
Angela and Carly, can you reread the question on the tribal consortium and whether a resolution is needed?
Yeah.
Yes. So if a project for either ROA includes multiple tribes delivered under the auspices of a tribal consortium, do we need a resolution from each tribal nation, or will a resolution from the consortium board suffice?
And the answer here is a resolution from each tribe will be required.
And if there's any questions folks want us to repeat in real time too, please let us know. I know we answered a lot.
Yeah, and it looks like we've got a new one here.
Great, thank you. So our next question is there any options for pilot projects for this grant?
So phase 1, which is what these active ROAs represent, supports planning and development and pilot projects. So those can be included in planning and development work.
And I see another question.
Reread that one.
Go ahead.
I think I got my timing was off there. Okay, so is there any option for a pilot project for this grant? Phase 1 supports planning and development, and pilot projects can be included in planning and development work. There we go. That makes sense.
Perfectly delivered on the second time. Sometimes you just need that. I see one short question that I think I already know your answer to, Angela, but I'm going to ask it anyways. The question is, can we ask our questions to the email address provided?
Well, yes, please email questions, and we would be happy to respond to those.
Angela, did you ask me a question?
No.
Okay. One thing while we're waiting, one thing I wanted to point out is that there's language in the ROAs about what is required at the time of application, which in some instances differs from what is required at the time of award. So I want to encourage people to look carefully at what's required at which stage. For some of the things, you will have a little bit more time, and it's required before award, but not at the application phase. And then I think we did get the format for the application name. It's definitely in the chat, and I think it's also in the Q&A now.
Right. Thanks, Kathy. Always
Thank
happy
you,
to have
Kathy.
answers from Kathy.
And I don't think we have any more questions coming in, but I'll pause and see if my team has any final questions we should answer. I think we might be able to wrap up a few minutes early then. Thank you all so much for being here today, and I'll pass it back to you, Kathy.
That one we definitely didn't.
Okay, I know we have at least one question that we did not get to live. So we encourage everybody, if we did not answer your question, or if you have additional questions, please email us at ncrew@nih.gov. Our website has a wealth of information, including that Q&A document, and you can find that at heal.nih.gov/ncrew. I want to thank, those are also in the chat right now, the website and the email. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank Carly and Angela for the beautiful job that they did answering the questions. And I want to thank the whole team for all the frenzy in the background answering the questions. And again, please do reach out to us, ncrew@nih.gov. We very much look forward to receiving your applications and happy to answer the questions that we can. Thanks everybody so much for your time today. And I think with that, we will go ahead and close out. Thank you very much.